Hi, Katie here from Katie's World. In this video, I am going to be giving you a step-by-step tutorial on building a chipboard cover for a scrapbook mini album. Now, this particular one that I am using, the sizing I'm going to use is for my Magical Lands album that is not yet available. I'm still working on it. So I'm not going to be giving measurements, but I do want to walk you through how the process is done or how I do it. Just so you can see. And if you get any of my album projects, it doesn't matter about the measurements and stuff because that'll all be in the instructions. But if you want to just see exactly how I do it, it's the same process, just using different sizes of chipboard, different measurements of the cardstock. So in this video, I just want to show you how I do it step by step. So I hope you stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to show you what you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need a roll of 3/8 inch score tape. I do carry this in my shop. Also, I'll put the links below. Also now for this particular sizing, I'm going to be using a 6-inch roll and a 2.5, I believe this is 2.5, but I'll double check. Yes, a 2.5-inch roll and a 1-inch roll. Now you could get away with just grabbing a 6-inch or maybe using this, but I have all different sizes. So I'm just one of each of these, if you have all different sizes, and the 1-inch, I'm sorry, is going to be perfect for covering the cardstock, and you'll see that. But I'm almost running out of this, so we might have to adjust for that. But yeah, I recommend if you're going to be doing a lot of mini albums, go ahead and get the 6-inch roll because you're going to use it. But if you're just going to be making one book, just for the sake of costs, maybe get a 2 or a 2.5-inch roll. That might be the best way to go, happy medium. You're also going to need I recommend a Tim Holtz design ruler, or any kind of grid ruler that has the grid on, and you'll see when we go ahead and use that. A pencil, I recommend a pencil and not a pen, because we're actually going to cover our pencil lines with the tape, and the lead just makes it shiny. I suppose you could probably do like a white pen maybe too. I haven't tried that. But anyway, a bone folder or something to smooth out your tape. A craft knife or X-Acto knife. My favorite is the Fiskars fingertip knife. And then a pair of scissors. I got these from Costco. These are like my favorite to use in cutting the tape. They have that non-stick or Teflon blade. I think it says titanium. I don't know. Yeah, I think these are non-stick. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to just move these off to the side. And this is a large album, so I'm not sure if this is going to completely stay in camera, but I will try my best. Okay, so this particular one, because it's such a large album, we need to create a large piece of cardstock to cover our chipboard. So this particular one has 3 pieces. We want to make sure we put it on the smooth side. In this particular case, we're going to put the tape on this middle piece. Once again, whatever album kit you may have from me, don't just go by what I'm saying here as far as where to put the tape and everything. Look at the album you have and where it says. Technique is basically all the same. It's just maybe placement will be different. Okay, so I want to put it on the smooth side for this particular book. And I'm going to take my 3/8 inch score tape. And I want end-to-end coverage. So I'm actually going to start the tape over the edge, and I want it all the way, but not over the edge on the side. So the long sides, I don't want to go over the edge, but I want to go up to the edge as close as possible. And then on the short ends, let it hang over just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to do this side too. I'm just using my bone folder to make sure it gets all the way down there, because I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and trim it off. And I'm just resting the edge of the blade of the scissors against the cardstock to make sure I'm all the way against it. Just don't cut your cardstock. Be very careful. Okay. And then take your bone folder and just make sure you get those ends. You can do the whole thing, but make sure you get the ends, because it'll make it much easier when you go to pull up that tape backing if you've got it fully down. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the cardstock. So now this is smooth side up, so we want to make sure to turn these smooth side up, because we want the texture. This is going to be the inside. And we want the texture to show on the outside. So these are just going to glue right over, just enough to cover the adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off one at a time. And this is nice. My particular service, I have lines across, so I think I'm going to use that as a guide. I usually use a large cutting mat that has like the measurements and lines on it, but we have this. So first of all, I want to look at the corner here and make sure I get it just over the adhesive. Now, if a little bit of adhesive shows, that's okay, because we're doing it on the smooth side, which is going to get fully covered in adhesive anyway. If you're doing it on the textured, it would not be a good thing if adhesive is showing. So I'm just starting at the corner here. Make sure I got it just over that adhesive. And now I'm going to bring it down. Wait, I want to make sure I'm still in camera here. All right, I'm going to just line up with this line, but I'm not looking at this line so much. I'm looking at the tape, making sure I just cover that tape. And then I'm going to look down here before I fully press it down, make sure that it is turning out straight, and that looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and press it down. And I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing, making sure I have smooth side up. Now, of course, if you don't have textured paper, if it's smooth on smooth, then it doesn't matter. Just whatever, basically whatever you want the outside, the texture is what you want to show. So if you were doing like a pattern paper maybe, then you would want the pattern that you want to show on the underside here. So this is the inside. Okay, beautiful. So just like that. Now that's going to fully cover, be in the camera there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead. We want the next step. So now we have one long piece of cardstock, okay? We still want the smooth side up, and we want to take our ruler. Basically, we want to draw a 1-inch line with the pencil in, 1 inch in from the left side and 1 inch in from the bottom. These are just going to be guidelines for when we're adding our chipboard. Very important. I mean, you can totally eyeball it, but it definitely helps to have those guidelines to keep everything in place. So if you haven't used one of these before, you're actually going to put it, so I want to put the line in this way. And what I'm going to do is, and I don't know if it matters so much. So there's a metal edge, and then this, I'm going to do it this way. But yeah, if you do it this way, then you can see that black bold line, and you know that's your 1 inch mark, which is fine. Yeah, we'll just do that. Okay, I don't know that it really matters either way. So that bold line right there is 1 inch. So that might just be the easiest way to go. So we're going to make sure that bold line is right on the edge of the cardstock. Hold it in place. Take your pencil, and I would say go over it 2 or 3 times, making sure you have a nice bold line. Remember, we're going to cover this with tape, but we want to be able to see through that tape so you can really see that. So don't do a light pencil mark. Make it really nice and bold. Okay, now we're going to do the bottom. Okay, once again, I'm looking at that bold line. And I left 1/4 inch overhang so that I can line up the edge as well and make that straight. So you want to bring that all the way down. So just keep going. Running out of room over here. Okay, one more line. Okay, so now we're done with our pencil and our ruler. And now you should have a line all the way down on the left, 1 inch in, and a line all the way across the bottom. Now you can do the other two sides. I never do because I just don't think it's necessary to do that. As long as you line it up on the one side, it's fine. It should be fine. So now we need to put our tape down. So this is where the big one comes in real handy. I keep getting up because I need to make sure that I'm in camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So how I like to do this is I'll pull this back. Make sure when you're doing this part, your tape backing is to the page so that if it accidentally touches, it's not going to stick. If you haven't used score tape before, you're going to learn real fast. It sticks. So you got to be really careful because once it touches down, for the most part, you're basically just ripping it up. So yeah, so I always do it this way first, measure out how long I want it. So I'm going to let it overhang just a little bit here. And then I'm just going to move this so you can see, and then let it overhang a little bit here. And I'm going to trim it off because it's going to be a lot easier to put this down without it connected to the roll. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off. Now, this is the part you have to really be careful that you don't let the tape touch down until you are ready, because it's so long, it wants to bow in the middle. So I'm going to pull it real tight, and I've got it. I know you can't really see my hand, so I'm going to show you right here. Let me turn it so you can at least see one, hopefully see one of my, there we go. Okay. So you want to pull it really tight, and I'm kind of tilting it up a little bit. I just want to make sure it's not going to touch until I'm ready. I'm going to place it. Now you can let it overhang the bottom if you're worried about it. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, okay? But I try to just get it to the edge without going over, but that's only because I don't feel like trimming it off. If you are nervous about that, just let it hang over. You can trim it off. It's not a problem. The main concern, you don't want it to bubble, okay? So now that I've laid it down, and when I'm laying it down, I'm having it touch down on the edge first, and that's why I had it tilted up, and then I'm laying it down. Now I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to press it down. Make sure there's no bubbles. Make sure you're doing this on a mat or a plastic table. You don't want this tape sticking to your good like hardwood or anything. Okay, so now we've got that. So now you can go ahead and turn it over and trim it off, but I'm going to just do the whole, oops, I just threw that. I'm just going to go ahead and finish putting that on, or putting everything on, and then just trim it all off at once. Okay, so then the next piece, actually, wait a minute. I might be able to just use another roll of this. Oh. Why did I say a 2-inch and a 1? Oh, I know why. That works for the inside cover lining. That's another piece for later. So actually, 2 of these, because I think this is 12 inches high. Okay, so 2 of these. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we're just going to do that again. Roll it out. Trim it off. Okay, now this part, do not overlap the tapes. That's very important because it'll be a little bit harder to take it off, and most importantly, you'll feel a bump on the outside cover. So you don't want the tapes to overlap. So I'm just gonna butt it up, like kiss it. Butt it up against this one. So see how I'm making sure it's just leaning against it, not over it, right up against it. And then take my bone folder. Okay, what I usually do, and I just forgot, I laid it down, but I hadn't pressed it yet, and I started to push it this way, and that kind of moved it out a little bit. So you want to pull it. I want to pull it this way towards the tape. Okay. Make sure it's really down. And you especially want to make sure your corners are down, or your edges, because we're going to trim that off and we don't want it to pull or anything. We want to make sure it comes off so easy. Now you can use scissors, but I recommend, if you're comfortable, to use the X-Acto knife or the craft knife, because it's just so much easier. So now I'm turning it over. The way you use this, just put your finger in here like this, so it's angled up like that. And there you go. It's really easy. It's nice. This is my favorite one to use. Oh, yeah. I think I can use this. I don't know. I don't think I've actually cut on this, but I mean, it is a cutting mat. So I think I can. But I'm kind of afraid to, so I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to do it on this. Okay. So I'm just going to get my, and I like to start, so I've got tape all the way around. I mean, no, I've got on 3 sides. I've got it here, here, and here. So I like to turn it so I'm starting where there's no tape, on the edge where there's no tape, so I can just pull it down. So I'm going to kind of lean the blade against the cardstock. You don't want to cut into the cardstock, so you need to be careful about that, but you want to cut all the way off to the edge. So I'm kind of leaning my blade next to the cardstock, pushing down. You got to push down hard, but it should come right off. And if it doesn't come right off, you got to push harder or go over it again. But you'll get the hang of it. And like I said, if that's too hard to do, just go ahead and use scissors. Like I said, I recommend the non-stick or Teflon scissors, because this stuff is really sticky. And then you can use alcohol wipes to get the sticky off of your scissor blades. But be very careful not to cut your fingers, please. Okay. It's very sticky, so I always try to fold it over or roll it up so that I don't put anything on it or it doesn't stick to anything. Okay, beautiful. Make sure I put my cap back on. Put that down. We're done with that. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to go along the edge, because now I've trimmed it off, and I want to make sure the edge is good and down. Okay. All right, now we're going to add our chipboard. So before I remove the tape, I just want to give you an idea where it's going. So you're going to have a spine piece, and you're going to have the front and the back cover. Now this particular album I'm working with, the width is 1/4 of an inch different from the height. So be very careful. Okay, so you want to make sure the longest way is going side to side horizontally, and the shorter distance is top and bottom. And you'll see, let me see if I turn this, can you tell? Not really, because it's only 1/4. Okay, well anyway, yeah, so that's important. So it's gonna essentially go like that. So let's go ahead and remove these. Now that we know that we have it in the right direction. We're going to remove the tape backing. And be very careful not to let anything touch this. If it does, it is probably stuck. And you might have to start over. Unless you have undo. There is something called undo that you can use. That helps. Okay, so you want to make sure you can see your pencil lines. Can you see that? See the pencil lines in there? Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure I've got this on camera for you. Okay, so it's going to take the first piece. Again, make sure you have it in the correct direction. We're going to look at this corner here and put it right in that corner where it crisscrosses. Right there. Okay. So I'm going to have that touch down first. Now what I like to do is I'll stick my pinky out as a guide so that I'm not putting down that chipboard yet. It's kind of stopping me from going all the way down. So I'm resting on my pinky and I'm going to put the point right here in the corner. And then I'm going to line up the left edge with those pencil lines. And as I'm going down, I'm looking at the bottom just to make sure it's lining up, and it sure is. So that's great. Okay. Now it's down. It is stuck. So now we have that 1 inch going around. Okay. Now this one, we want an 1/8 of an inch distance. If you have, I don't have one here actually in front of me, but if you have a ruler that if the width of your ruler, I have this ruler, but it's actually thinner than an 1/8 of an inch. But if you have a ruler that is an 1/8 of an inch thick, if you butt it up against this chipboard, stick it down, then place this, then pull it up, you have an 1/8. I always eyeball it. But that's just a little tip you can do. So I'm just going to eyeball it here. I am looking at the top and the bottom. And I want to make sure. Now I'm looking at the chipboard, not the pencil line. Okay, that's important. Look at the chipboard, not the pencil line. It should line up with the pencil line. But if it doesn't, the most important thing is it's an 1/8 of an inch away from the chipboard. And you want it going straight across. You don't want it to angle off and then it's going off your cardstock, because we need to wrap this whole thing. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So same thing. We're going to take this, making sure it's in the correct direction. Again, I'm not even looking at the pencil line anymore. I'm looking at the chipboard. I'm also looking at the overall edge of my cardstock. I want at approximately 1 inch going all the way around. Approximately. That just gives you a nice, just nice enough to wrap the chipboard. Okay, so I'm looking at the spine piece, making sure it's about 1/8 of an inch away, and making sure that it's lined up top and bottom. Now occasionally it might be off by a hair, 1/16 of an inch or so. In that case, and that's just because everything's hand cut. I mean, we're hand making it. So, but if it is off just by a hair, just center it. Just make it, just center it so it's not like more on one side than the other. Okay. So there we go. That's beautiful. So if you can look right here, it might be off literally like 30 seconds of an inch, but it's totally fine. It's totally fine. It's not off by 1/4 of an inch or something crazy like that. And then this is a little bit more than 1 inch. Totally fine. We're just going to wrap it. Okay. So that's what it should look like. And now the next step is to trim our corner. So we're going to take our scissors. Again, very important. You want a gap. When you trim this off, do not cut all the way to the chipboard. If you cut all the way to the chipboard, you're going to see your chipboard corner. So at least 1/8, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And if it helps, you can even take a pen and draw a line if that helps you. I always just eyeball it, but I've done so many of these. So I just lay my scissors right there. Cut. Okay. And we're going to do that to all 4 corners. Okay, so now we have all 4 corners trimmed. I'm going to pick this up, press it down onto the table. Just press it down. Let's go the other way, and I'm doing the long sides first. Okay, press it down. Then I'm going to take my bone folder and smooth it out. You can even go along the edge if you'd like, but just smooth that out. Make sure it's down real well. Sorry, I was trying to see the time on my camera because for some reason it always cuts out at 33 minutes and 10 seconds, and I can't figure out how to fix that or why it does that. But it's on my phone, so maybe it's something that it internally has to do. I don't know. But anyway, so I may have to do a part 2 video if I go over. But okay, so once you've got the long sides done, now this is also important. You want to take your bone folder and push in the corners, okay? Kind of push them in and press them down, because we don't want any corners sticking out all wonky when we fold this in. And I'll show you close up in just a second. So see how I'm pushing it down, pulling it in, pushing it down, kind of just pressing it all down. See that? And this one. There, that's a good view. See how you can see that pushed in like that? Okay, so now we're going to push this one down just like we did. Press it down, turn it over, and smooth it out. Okay, push these in. Push these in. Press it down. Turn it over. Smooth it down. So now you can see, gives you a nice corner there. Now, if we hadn't pushed those corners in it, it might be sticking out all wonky. So that's really nice and flush. Okay, it came out real nice. So that's it. Well, one more thing I want to say. When you go to bend it, just take your bone folder and very lightly press in the creases in between the spines so those go down. You're just training that to go down. And you fold it. And there you have it. There's your cover. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. I'd really appreciate that. Any comments, questions you have, put below. If you'd like to check out my shop, there's a link below where you can see all kinds of fun projects that I have to offer. I do page kits and album kits. And please check back for our next video. We're going to be putting in the hinge in our next video. Thank you so much again. I hope you subscribe to my channel, hit that notification button, and have a great day.